Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am working on week 31 of Project Life and I'm using some really minimal kind of supplies this week. I'm starting off with, I've got a choice of 4x6 cards here, but what I've done is I've actually used the 6x8 digital ledger paper from Citrus Twist. So good. I love those kind of basic patterns. There's still lots of color in there, but it's not pattern that's like in your face. So it's going to make what I want to do today really simple, which is use a lot of stamps. So that was like my first step. I just cropped those down in Photoshop and printed them on 4x6 cardstock. I also have the Everyday Life journal cards, and these are along the same sort of line. So there are lots of those kind of basics. They're not full of pattern. There's very subtle sentiments on there. I love them. And so the combination of these two is just so easy to work with. It was such a pleasure to put this spread together. So like I said, I'm still, we're in Stamptember, so I'm still focusing on stamps. I do have enough of them to use to focus on. So what I want to do is use those today. So really, as far as like embellishment or, adding to this spread, stamps is really all I'm going to use. Now, I decided to start off with my title card, my thought being that I knew that I wanted to use 2 alpha stamps on this particular card, and I'm thinking that I might use the same alpha stamps throughout my spread just to add that little bit of continuity to the whole thing, and I thought it would be helpful if I started with that title card so that I had that basic there that I could base everything else off. Now, this is probably a lot more planning than you've ever seen me do with stamping before. I'm not like a big planner when it comes to stamping, but this card is going to be super minimal. I'm centering the words, and I am going to like spell out the week number words this week rather than putting numerals in. And I wanted everything to be as centered as I can get it. And granted, I'm no like straight stamper. So I wanted it as centered and as straight as I could possibly get it. Now it helps that the card that I chose for this week is this green and white stripe. I know, green, who am I even? But I do have a reasonably large photo enlargement, which is full of green, so I'm just working with it this week. This green card has stripes on it, which is always handy when I'm stamping. If I can stamp on a striped card, it's going to make life so much easier. I am also using that ruler guide so that I can find the center mark of that card. And generally, I'm working my way from the center out. So I do have, because I'm just a terrible speller, I do have my title spelt out on a little note paper beside me so that I can make sure I'm not going to make any spelling mistakes as I'm going. I have done that before. And so again, a little bit of planning goes a long way. You can see here I've got week 31 is what I'm going to spell out underneath here. So I'm using the 2 alphas. One is the Bailey alpha, and the other one, I can't quite remember the name. The Madison is the Madison Alpha from Citrus Twist. So I'm going to leave my title card there for now. I'm not really planning on adding a whole lot more to it, just a label with my date stamping, but I didn't know really. I wanted to kind of confirm the rest of the colors on my spread before I went ahead and decided which color that I was going to use for my label. So as I mentioned, I'm going to use this alpha a lot on this spread, and I had this photo that of my first vaccination that I wanted to kind of fill in this little bit of blank space. Like I said, it's a lot of green in here, and so I was just going to spell out 1 down and 1 to go. Now I kind of had the same situation this week that I had last week, was that I did not take any horizontal photos, hence my enlargement. So it's the same issue. I've just kind of treated it a little bit differently than I did last week. Last week I just printed all 3x4 photos. This week instead I've printed the enlargement. And again, I do all of my printing at home, and so generally I'm cropping any photos in Photoshop, and I print at home on my home printer. So it's super easy to do this kind of enlargement. I'm really only printing 2 4x6s to create the 6x8 enlargement. So that's it, that's my little sentiment. You can see me swapping inks here. When I'm stamping on cardstock, I am using the Pink Fresh Studio Detail Black ink. It is a very nice solid black ink, which I like on cardstock. It does not, well, in my experience, it doesn't print very well on my photo paper, which is Canon Photo Glossy 2 paper. So I use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink for that. Generally, I would use that on the cardstock as well, but my ink pad is super dry. I'm waiting for a re-inker to arrive, and I'll decide after that. Once I re-ink it, I'll decide whether I can start using that on cardstock again. It is still by far my favorite ink for stamping on photos. And as always, that comes down to the fact that I do print at home. I print on Canon Photo Glossy 2 paper. It is designed to absorb ink, and so it stamps beautifully. Now this is what I meant by kind of having another line to stamp on, so it makes life very easy for me. I'm combining a couple of different stamp sets here. I'm going to link everything down below because, to be honest, I'm drawing a blank on the names of all of these stamp sets, but I stamped Yes To, and it's off a food stamp set. And so it wasn't necessarily all about food. I've got one food photo and one stationery sort of shopping haul photo. So it wasn't completely food related, and so I just changed the sentiment by stamping Yes To, and then I used that same Bailey Alpha to change it to All This. So I love the way that looks. Again, I'm adding a little bit of consistency. I'm doing the same thing on this 3x4 card. The little sentiment that's printed on the card says can't get enough of this, and I just changed that a little bit, so it's about Mel, my cat. I changed the stamped the word you, so it's you can't get enough of this. And that's because she can't get enough bags. Anytime I drop a bag on the floor, grocery bag, I turn around and there she is. She's sneaking into the bag or sitting on top of it. She just cannot get enough of it. And so I snuck this little photo of her, and her face was priceless. She's like, damn, she caught me. Now my journal card here, it's yellow, it's super plain. Again, it's one of those everyday life sort of ledger paper cards. I'm just going to add to it a little bit with some stamps because I can't help it not to. I'm stamping the word captured, but I'm going to turn it into part of the card rather than a title just by stamping in yellow ink, so it's tone on tone. I can go ahead and then just type my journaling onto there, and that captured, it's there, but it sort of just fades into the background a little bit and lets my journaling kind of shine. I did run that journaling card just straight through my typewriter, and so I am just kind of eyeballing it, but I did make sure to butt my text up against the stamp so I'm not actually stamping over the word captured. Now, I don't have a whole lot left to go on here. That's what I mean. This was so quick to put together this week. It's so quick. I've got 2 3x4 photos left, and I didn't want to add like too much to them. I feel like the spread's really simple and kind of graphic, and I don't want to go too over the top, but I also didn't want to leave them just completely plain. So I grabbed these 2 stamps, and I have just stamped them twice here just to make sure I get a good impression. If I make any mistakes, I've got a second one sitting there, but I've got 2 stamps. They both have those little outlines around them, which makes them perfect for stamping onto just scrap cardstock. This is just white scrap cardstock. And then I can trim them out and use them like a little embellishment. So I really liked that. I get that consistency again because there's 2 of them, but also I like adding that little pop of white onto especially this photo here because it is a little bit busy, so I did kind of struggle with where I was going to put it. But I like that it's outlined and it's white. It does stand out enough without making the whole thing like super busy, and I'm not adding any kind of extra colors or anything to it. So now I've got the spread basically done. Like I said, I'm going to look back through here, my little jar of labels. These are all digital labels. I get them from Citrus Twist, from Studio Calico. They're pre-printed, pre-cut out. Super handy having a jar full of them just sat there. I decided to kind of go yellowy, orange, peachy colored. Those were the ones I was looking for. I was really just looking for one that was in that color range, but also the right size to be able to stamp my date onto. And then I can add that in underneath the stamped title. I should have got my ruler guide out. I was just kind of eyeballing the center for that one. Now, I can't leave well enough alone, so I did grab out these. I actually had them sitting on my desk, which is probably why I grabbed them out. They were just there in my eyeline. I decided to use them. I've got 3 of these different sets, but I'm pulling out the little puffy sticker hearts. You know me, I can't help it. Just about all of these sets have these black and white striped ones, which I really love. I haven't used yet. So I'm just going to add a few of those, not too many, just a couple on a couple of different pictures. I'm using the black and white ones, and I'm also using a couple of the yellow ones just to tie in that very bright yellow daffodil down there. It was my first spring daffodil. It had to go in here. I do have plenty more now at this point, but adding in those little hearts I think was just the perfect finishing touch for a very simple week of project life. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye.